President Metsola, welcome to Romania.
Thank you.
And welcome to Timişoara. It's an important city for us. So as you know, Romania has just chosen the European path. And I have two questions. In this context, what is the significance of the European Values Award you are receiving from the Timișoara City Hall? And could you share your impressions following the informal meeting with the President-elect?
Well, I couldn't think of a better moment for me to be here in Timişoara today to receive, on behalf of the European Parliament, a European award. This is an award that will showcase the work we do for democracy, for values, for opportunities that the European Union provides. And I wanted to be the one physically present in Timişoara, as I've just met with hundreds of young people, to showcase what we can do, what we can do better, but what we can really be proud of, as we have been, of course, over the past few days. I met with the President-elect, Dan, last night, late, as soon as I arrived in Bucharest, and I must say the meeting was extremely positive, clearest of messages that this new era will be one where Romania also hits the ground running, that Romania is at the very center of the European Union, that Europe is in every corner of Romania, and it also with challenging decisions ahead. In other words, how can Romania be brought closer? How can decisions be taken that all Romanians feel included? How can we make sure that those who feel far away, marginalized, ignored, are ones that feel that Brussels is not too distant from them? I think that is a collective challenge, and one I'm sure the President, as he also told me, elect and also his government will do.
So, but these elections have left Romania divided, you know, about our problems in our country. So I want to ask you, some people are afraid of what's coming next. They are talking about the war. So could you give, what message would you give to those people? So how could the political leaders reunite the people?
Well, it's a collective responsibility we have, all of us who are democratically elected, which is what happened last Sunday here, that there was a choice made by the Romanian people as to whom they would like to lead them over the next years. And that comes with, as I said, a responsibility to represent everybody, both those who voted for you and both those who didn't. It will not be easy, but it is one that will require courage and difficult decisions. In other words, how are we going to be better prepared for enlargement? How are we going to make sure that Romania benefits to the full from the recent, finally, Schengen accession? How are we going to make sure that Romanians who live outside Romania feel that they are have equal access of opportunity to education, to health, to social security? All of these are integrated in what we design in the European Union to make sure, especially in the next financial discussions, to include and have access to everyone. The worst thing that could happen is that Romanians feel collectively far away, that they feel that the European Union is not good for them. Now, actually, the statistics and the polls show us the opposite, but we need to prove it to them, because when they are next called to vote for any other election, we need to make sure that they say, actually, the European Union was good for us. It's not perfect, of course, we need to be honest about where we could do better, but it is one where we can really make our life better.
What should our politicians take into consideration on forming the new government so that we could have stability and be able to move forward with the reforms?
Well, I'm always a proponent of inclusiveness. In other words, bring as many people as possible, even with different ideas and backgrounds, that would be able to be around a table that takes courageous decisions. The most important thing of those courageous decisions is to have enough people to defend them and explain them and understand if they work and if they don't. Be honest about where things could have been done better. Be courageous as to where you want to arrive. Be also open about the difficulties that will be faced. Be also understanding of the difficulties that people live in. In other words, if you have challenges in the health sector, in the education sector, when you have struggles of mental health, when you have people who live far away from capital cities, that they feel that they are really far away, that if you are in the big cities, you are not, and this is a problem across the European Union. Access to employment, access to dignified housing, that we do not continue to have a situation where the gap between those who can have everything and those who have nothing grows. This is a challenge, of course, that the whole of the European Union is facing in 2025. And we've had big challenges. We've had a pandemic, we've had a war, continue to have a war on our continent. It is one where we need to every day explain why we are doing what we are doing, because we are defending Europe and each and every citizen that lives in it.
And given these geopolitical tensions and the ongoing war in Ukraine, should Romania increase its contribution to the European Union's common defense effort?
Well, we are now facing crucial weeks ahead. We continue to fight for a ceasefire in order for us to have the much needed relief for Ukraine after almost 3.5 years of constant bombardments and an invasion. Let's not forget what an illegal and unjustified and unprovoked invasion that was. Secondly, there will be a NATO summit where countries will need to honestly be around the table and say, have we done enough? Are we prepared? We have commitments. Have we met them? Do we need to increase our commitments? This is also part of the discussion that we need to have with the United States, for example. Within the European Union, we have embarked on a challenging plan, which is Rearm EU. In other words, how are we going to make sure on a European level that governments get the flexibility they need in order to meet the commitments that they have. And this requires also in terms of creation of jobs, in terms of understanding what peace is. And when we say peace, that is one that is lasting and one that is durable, because that is what not only Ukrainians are fighting for, but the whole of Europe is.
How could we fight against the disinformation?
By countering it. The worst we could do is ignore it, because it will grow. I run an institution which is very often the victim of disinformation. It is sometimes so easy to provide easy answers to the most difficult of questions. My responsibility is to go the other way and say, actually, that is not correct. We have rules, we have laws, we have the Artificial Intelligence Act, we have the Digital Services Act, but now we need to implement them. They need to be implemented everywhere, including here in Romania, in order for us to give our young people, our voters, the truth, in order for them to choose who will lead their country, in order for them to be not to be manipulated, in order for our artists not to feel that their rights are being, in a way, stolen by generative AI that does not recognize the content that was created here in Europe, even in Timişoara. So these are things that will be, I would say, the main challenges we will face in a virtual world. We're talking about protection. We're not talking about censorship. We are huge proponents of freedom of expression, but we are also ones that want our rules to be followed.
Do you have a message for the Romanians in those moments?
Well, believe. We are in the city of light, in Timişoara, a city of hope. This hope has been demonstrated over decades. Let's spread that message across the whole of Romania, and one that can really become, I would say, contagious in the whole of Europe. And I think I can feel it here myself.